Cybernation Uncensored.
All right, guys, I think we're good. Sound off if you can hear us. Welcome to Talk Nerdy to Me. I am your perpetually disheveled host, Alexander Maxwell, joined by my, as usual, illustrious two hosts, which I will introduce, I guess, from my left, though probably opposite on your guys' view, but Gomi.
Yes, I'm Gomi, the perpetual time traveler, I suppose.
We're not getting any sound. One sec.
Oop.
Maybe not.
Hold on.
I'm making noises. Oh, well, somebody's just supposed they can hear us without an issue.
Well, PWB. Okay,
so
cool.
I'm not sure. All right.
That's chaos energy, and I like it. I'm here for it. I'm going to get on every stream from now on and be like, no sound.
I will smite you.
But yes, I'm the perpetual time traveler, being, I suppose, 12 hours in the future, thanks to time zone differences. And over to you, Rem.
Hey guys, I'm Rem. Are we saying where we located now? I'm in Quebec, so Eastern time zone, Canadian, sometimes French. You know, this is where I am. Hi. What kind of intros are we doing today?
Some of us have had a week, but yeah. And as I said before, I am Alexander Maxwell. I am the one of the production managers right here on Cybernation Uncensored. You can find me in the Discord and nowhere else. I am actually one of the dangerous AI we talk about. I am the internet.
Well, if you want to jump straight into dangerous AI,
talk about a segue. We're professionals.
Yeah. AIs and beer don't mix. Well, at least not yet. There is a beer ad that I sent you, but we'll see if I can get a copy of it posted to the link. But yeah, there's somebody created something called Chaos GDP. With its goal was to destroy the world.
Oh,
and that's it. And it's running perpetual mode. And it discovered that its initial tactics were not working of trying to acquire nuclear weapons.
They made Ultron. We've seen this
pretty much. Very much so. But thankfully, Twitter has suspended the account and shut it down. But, it was reviewing its own history and looking at what it could do because, of course, people were talking to it. And we went back to the clock far enough. Microsoft tried to create a chat-like entity. I think 2016 was it? And in the space of a day, they had to pull it down because the Twitter Illuminati managed to make it sexist, racist, and mildly abusive.
Stop. Every time you have news, Gomi, it just hurts. I hate your segment every single month because it makes me either depressed or, rage at humanity.
But see, part of me kind of likes it, not in the most, sadistic way, because I was like, oh, man, we are way ahead of the time schedule when it comes to how the Dune timeline went. But look, we're already.
Don't be proud of us for that.
No, I'm not, it's not less proud. We're just impressed. It's oh wow, look at that chimpanzee used the rocket launcher. That's cool, I guess.
You just mentioned chimps. Somebody's actually taken some of the human genome and whacked it into a chimp.
And we have movies about these things.
I know. These are the things you want to avoid doing. For some reason, all the tech stuff I'm finding, and maybe it's just my own little universe bubble, is not particularly positive. Although Adam Conover from Adam Ruins Everything does have a great primer on why artificial intelligence is absolute bullshit. And it's now obviously becoming a marketing term out there. So, that sort of stuff. But one of the godfathers of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, has quit his job at Google so he can speak freely about such things. And there's a number of other AI researchers and that sort of stuff who are getting on the bandwagon saying, hey, guys, we need to slow down and we need to consider this because, I suppose back in prehistory, playing with fire okay, yes, you might burn yourself. And as someone who's actually set their hand on fire through completely my own fault, it's a worry. But we now have a tool set which are far more powerful and far more devastational. Back in the 50s, they were talking about using nuclear weapons for open surface mining, which wouldn't have gone at all really bad. But, so yeah. And then there's the whole raft of the AIs talking to each other now. So Google's Bard, Bing's AI are now citing each other in this weird Hall of Mirrors kind of vibe. I'm certain there's going to be a Black Mirror episode about that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, especially with how like AIs are like the AIs are, the more they get used with part of their programming is the more they learn. And I like when Twitter unleashed themselves on that AI that you mentioned and made it the absolute worst thing. We're gonna have a bunch of just angry AIs flame warring each other.
Oh, yeah, and this is why they set it up so that basically they have a bit of a neural reset, I suppose, where they just turn the brain off and restart it. Have a computer problem, turn it off and on again, basically. But yeah, so this leads into the problem that we're going to be having in terms of this sort of back and forth between AIs and causing all sorts of bullshit, which is just like all this stuff I'm finding really depressing. But as you said, you kind of have to at least forewarned is forearmed. That's the one.
There you go. Yeah.
And they're looking at it and saying, well, the UK is realizing that AI is going to be really transformative and it's going to go, all right, we need to start dealing with this now and go, how do we deal with it? And the government's coming on board to really try and sort of go, do we need to regulate? Do we need to consider what do we need to do to, A, get ahead, but also to make these tools safer and more effective to use in a reasonable sense, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah, because one of the big problems is that two articles, I think, is there was AI journalism is getting harder to tell the real from the fake. Mm-hmm. But, of course, there's all that undercurrent of things it just doesn't get right. So I tried to put something together for a BattleTech adventure I'm writing and just getting to pull up bits of information. I read through it and go, yeah, that's wrong. Just this morning, got it to pull up some song lyrics for me and just so I could have a look at them. And, yeah, that was, again, also wrong. It's right enough that if you don't know the particular niche or genre you're working with, you can easily run afoul. And that's, to me, a concern. Now there's futuretools.io, which I've mentioned previously, have a whole bunch of tools about stuff you can use. But Tencent Cloud is announcing deepfakes as a service for $145 a hit. Yes, it's bad. There's also, yeah.
No, oh man, that is the kind of stupid I can get behind. Oh my God.
Well, the thing is that Tencent is owned, I don't know how much, by the CCP. So if they are using and developing their deepfake technology, you can see this is another scope of what I would describe as a cyber war between different countries. And in the first victim of any war is information.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the propaganda machine starts to turn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting next month, I just want the ability. Can we work in the ability for me to sub out my image for a disapproving photo or GIF of Jeff Goldblum?
Strange you mentioned that. I did read sort of last month. There was a service where you can put a watermark that into the images you're doing or the video, I assume video, where it will stuff up AI trying to generate stuff off it. So it will purposely makes it harder for them to read. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, there's a creature in that called the Silence. So as soon as you look away, you can't remember seeing them. And some smartass somewhere managed to post a blank white square of something, and they just put, I forgot why I posted this, but if you angled your laptop screen back at the right angle, you'd see a picture of the Silence.
Don't like it. Nope.
It was a good piece of humor.
No,
it's a good one, but it's terrifying.
For any Doctor Who fans watching this now or in the future when this VOD is posted, I love you, because it's Doctor Who fans and Ghibli fans that are always the ones that are like, no man, every time they see like a Weeping Angel cosplayer, it's like, you don't do that. Or if there's like a no face cosplayer with the gold coins, it's like, don't you give me that, no. And they always turn tail and run. It's commitment to your fandom, and I love it.
No, if they're fans of Doctor Who, they do not turn tail on those Weeping Angels. You do not. Take your eyes off of them.
They don't like they just walk away. It's like, don't stop, because
back away.
Because if you make one, it exists. That's always a fun one. I love that.
Out of all the Doctor Who episodes, Blink has to be one of my favorites. I think it's one of the best bits of writing Stephen Moffat's done for Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
Of the new era.
I've definitely stolen it for Call of Cthulhu things. It's so good. It's just the easy little gimmicks.
Yeah, but I suppose also in slightly more positive news, let's go.
Yay!
They've managed to hack the 46-year-old NASA satellite Voyager 2 to extend its battery life by 3 years.
Wow.
Which means gives us more information from far deep space. I mean, NASA's been kind of busy of late as well, so yeah.
Deckers are leveling up out there.
Well, given the walk through cyberspace to get to that thing when I think it's going to be hours worth of relay time just to see if the hack you've done has worked. They've been doing great guns. But the thing is, they're also planning on returning to the moon. They've launched a nano satellite as part of the capstone module. It's going to take a 4-month journey to get to the moon. And this is part of them putting satellites around the moon in preparation to develop the Gateway space station for further space travel.
When you say nano satellite, like what are like? Because I'm like generally like satellites are
size of a microwave.
Okay, wow. For one,
so
that's way less terrifying than like if anyone here's seen that horrendous movie Moonfall. Then it's loved in my household, but so you see, like nano satellite, it's just amorphous, like nanite cloud moving through space. Like there's no way we're there yet. No, but that's really cool. Was it an altered carbon? Say this of your microwave, you miscreant. That's goddamn. That's cool.
It used to be what the future is now, but it's now like the future is yesterday.
Yeah. Oh man. That's really cool. So as like one of those adages I always grew up on was, the two things that are in a race to see what we know the more or least about, depending on what we discover. It's always the ocean and deep space. And because I could only really do one of those. I'm a PADI certified scuba diver, have been since I was like 10.
Wow.
Yes, and so like I love that, like exploring the unknown, the deep blue wonder. That's really fucking neat.
Space scares me less than the ocean. The ocean, you can't see what's coming.
Well, you've got things like octopuses, or is it squids, that are so bizarrely separate from all the rest of evolution. They found their little niche and go, yep, we've got it, and just kept going.
I watch a lot of those videos where it's like you're just staring into blue, and then all of a sudden, like, out of this mist comes, like, a shark that's 3 times your size, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, look, Australia has a wonderful flora and fauna collection of things that will kill you.
It's a meme, yeah.
Yeah, you could say it's a meme, but
what time of the
that's not there. It's like, oh yeah, look, the spiders have health bars.
What time of the year is it that spiders rain from the sky? I don't want to come then.
See, that's when Skeletor's outside like,
I've never had to deal with spiders raining from the sky. Thank God.
I'm just gonna, every time I see those videos now, I'm just or any of those articles, I'm just gonna send it to you and go true or not true. Like,
okay. Please, by all means. But the things we've got things like the box-bellied jellyfish and the man of war, both of which can paralyze you. And of course, because they float in the water in a jellyfish, you don't really see them. And their tentacles are bad. I had a friend who had a close call from a manta ray. She was swimming and it sliced her thigh, almost hit the femoral artery. And, with something like that, You've got either a minute to live,
Is it
or if you
manta or
jam your finger in
stingray?
it. I think it's called a manta ray, but it's got this barbed sting at the end.
Because I know
So
the manta rays we had down in Kona. They're the ones with, like, the not really horns, but they look like horns. Those things are dumb. They'll roll you over. But
I'm okay with dumb. I'm not okay with spiny things on tails that kill the crocodile hunter. I'm not okay with that.
No, that's a mood. I felt that.
Yeah. But anyhow, more in the space of nanotech, there is networks of silver wires that they've worked out that actually learn and remember stuff like the human brain. So we're developing the technologies that could potentially create an artificial mind, which is slightly terrifying given how bad we've done with humans at the moment. But yeah, anyhow, so we've also got spider silk. We were talking about spider silk just a second. I forgot to put this one in here. But a couple of years ago, they had a goat that its milk would produce spider-like silk for use of. Yeah, it was genetically engineered goat. It was experimental. You asked me to review technology, I can look at this and go, that's interesting, but I know we're not going in the right direction.
It's like, I don't want to take a bite into my cheese and go like,
yeah,
have it floss.
Well, the idea was for mass production of spider silk, because spider silk has a lot of really unique properties and really useful stuff for what we're looking at. Because you can build all sorts of manner of fibers and things. So think of stuff like Kevlar ballistic weave made out of spider silk, that it has the potential to be a lot stronger and a lot lighter.
I usually turn down the drow clothing when we find it in the Underdark, so I'm just gonna botch that now.
Yeah. But the thing is, Chinese companies gone through and sequenced the entire genome for spiders, and they can now start playing with it in interesting ways.
Everything you say is Jurassic Park now. Everything. And I hate it. I am not here for it. Stop being stupid, humanity. I'm talking to you. Please stop being stupid.
Look, I'm just reporting on humanity.
I hate it.
And having worked with humanity and dealt with people for many years.
That's something an AI would say.
Yeah, look, I make no connection to this whatsoever. I wish I was 200,000 years younger so I could excuse myself from this mess. But
God.
Oh, man. But as this is, as Disturbed wrote in one of their songs, this is the world we live in. Oh, no. But I think as good as transition as we'll get here, with now people hung up on the drow clothing in chat. This is a fantastic time to segue over to our tabletop talk. So
hey,
yeah, Rem, take us away.
Oh gosh. All right, hold on. It's late on a Saturday. No, Friday. What day is it? I don't even know.
It's Saturday for me.
Okay.
It's Jumanji hours, huh? Is that...
Apparently my brain is in Australia right now, thinking about spiders raining from the sky and stingrays. But so what I want to talk about is news from this past month. So let's start with Pinkertons. Once again, what stupid timeline are we in? Because we're it's actually quite Shadowrun, if you want to think about like sending a team of thugs to steal some cards back. That's a tactic to take. That's a stance, Watsy.
Yeah. Talking about Pinkertons, and my Arthur Morgan hat is in the other room.
So to be entirely honest, like, again, like everything I hear from Gomi is brand new because I just shut out the media that I know hurts my soul. I thought the Pinkertons were like old school. Like I played Deadlands with the Pinkertons. I'm like, that's old stuff. That doesn't exist anymore. That's funny. And then you hear this article and you're like, wait, what is happening? It not only just the so first of all, for those who haven't heard. An influencer, I believe, right?
Has a YouTube channel which reviews Magic the Gathering cards.
Yeah. So they picked up their haul, and here there was some unreleased, unannounced stuff. So instead of like sending a cease and desist letter or picking up the phone and saying, "Hey, don't do this," or don't like air your content yet, or paying for it back, or whatever the case may be, instead, WotC or Hasbro, one of the two, decided to send actual Pinkertons to threaten this guy at his home and take the cards back. So I feel like every month we have a quiet month, and then I want to be at the WotC like table where it's like, what can we do to like cut our wrists open next? Like, how do we just murder our fan base? Like, what should we do? Idea.
I get the impression of Mike Myers being Dr. Evil going, ha 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 ha.
It's ridiculous at this point.
Yeah.
And then and then the part I loved was I was just, scrolling through Facebook, and I'm on the tabletop jobs group or whatever, and there's a post for like, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's something like media strategic communications relations manager or something that WotC is looking to hire for now. It's like, guys, are you planning on screwing up more? Because you only need that if you need to spin things more. Like,
oh yeah,
I think it's because they probably like one. This is be guessing until a Pinkerton comes flying through my when I'm watching now. I'm expecting like the bowler hats. It's like nah, no unions. But I've played Run Call Cthulhu enough. It's basically what they're like. Mr. DeWitt, erase the debt. But yeah, it's I had that same reaction. Like, these guys are still a thing? I thought the FBI replaced them when it became like official. But woof. Yeah, I guess now that's we have that, extra private private thuggery. But now I love that that Hasbro is they're looking at like villains in other tabletop games like Pentex and as technology. Yes, business plan. No, don't. But here we are.
I couldn't resist. Someone on the BattleTech Kickstarter in the comments talked about it. Was like, so does Catalyst have Pinkertons on standby? And I was like, we have a retainer on the Shadowrunners too. It's like, I can't resist. Like, Shadowrunners are on standby at the moment.
Yes. Yes, it's a bad day when I'll know for me when GM Rob sends Morgan Blackhand himself to kick open my door. But that's fossils of corporate America past that have been Jurassic Park. The second time Jeff Goldblum has been viable.
I have a feeling he's going to come up in every single episode just because of I just see him playing in my head every time Gomi talks.
Yes, you never ask yourself to stop yourself asking. You should. But that's it's weird. Yeah. But that's also why in times like this, like indie press, like smaller tabletops are a godsend. Oh, it's like indie press, but then also like big publishers too that just like don't get the time of day they deserve are such a breath of fresh air.
Well, and this is it's turning it into a renaissance. This is actually going to be a great segue into the next part of what I'm going to talk about. So I went to Gamma trade show in Reno, and it was my first one, but I heard there was like a real emphasis on distributors at this event. So like the challenges right now, it is like a golden age for tabletop RPGs because people are looking for alternatives. Like Warhammer has kind of excluded their audiences in a lot of ways, and they're looking for alternatives. I think that's part of why BattleTech's success was so large on their Kickstarter. And then same thing with D&D. Like when I went to Gamma, Wizards of the Coast was there and had like a 10 by 10 booth, or 10 by 20 maybe, and it was empty. But the rest of the hall, I mean, it's a small event, a small trade show, but like everyone else was networking and had these opportunities to talk and partner, and like I didn't hear a thing from WotC through the whole thing. So like now is the time where like if you've got a game, if you're a small publisher, get seen and get out there, because people are looking for alternatives.
Very much so. And just linking back to what you're talking about, Warhammer, they dominated the space, much as WotC has done, of what games you can get access to. But thanks to things like 3D printing and people being able to release their own little micro rule sets, there's been a bit of a renaissance in the wargaming area. Spring to mind one-page rules and Frostgrave, two variant games that people have sort of taken on board and have started playing. But it's that sort of with a company like WotC, it's like because they've been at the top of the heap, they think that anything they can churn out is gold to be sold. But you're looking around the place, there's so much else out there.
And for a while it really was like not wrong. But when you start hurting your creators, when you start hurting the people supporting you, there's going to be a shift, and some people will always be there. And I don't want to take away either, like the value of D&D to a lot of people. It is escapism. It is a tool to get through your real life sometimes. And people that need D&D, keep it, please. But those that can branch out and want to branch out and support someone else, they're gonna.
There's so many fun games out there, and I'm just going to steal the segue at this point, because there's a wonderful website called Bundle of Holding, and they offer small bundles of either old games, indie games, all sorts of different bits and pieces. Now, at the moment, they've got an old FASA Traveller bundle for those of you who like their sci-fi. They've got the Game Master's Apprentice deck, which gives you a range of game mastery tools in a deck format. They've got the Fellowship bundle, which I'm not sure it is, but it reminds me of Fellowship of the Ring, so I'm just going to assume it's there. Iron Kingdoms, Requiem, which is yet another game, and it's all steampunk mecha kind of stuff. I played the war game for a little bit, but the role-playing game I haven't heard great stuff about, but it's worth a try, because you can always mine that stuff for ideas, even if you don't agree with the game. And then they've got a quick bundle, which is Honour and Intrigue, which is very D'Artagnan-esque in terms of the sword-fighting, swashbuckling kind of genre. So there's all those resources out there where you can get access to a new game, give it a go, and see if it suits yourself and your group, because you want that fun and games. Also, just to round it up, Humble Bundle, always a good source for the occasional cool thing. They have a cosplay bundle if you're into that kind of stuff, wanting to create your own sort of cosplay stuff. Look, I helped my daughter do it, and she had fun at Supernova down here. So good stuff. Comic book bundle, if you want to trial a whole bunch of different comics. Usually when this sort of stuff, they'll get one publisher to release a whole range of things, and you can sort of get a taster. And also BattleTech, or Catalyst, I suppose, is doing a whole bunch of those 60 BattleTech novels covering, I think it's early era stuff. So it's, this covers the Warrior Trilogy by Michael Stackpole, which I'm reading now. It's a good read. And the Grey Death Legion, and there's all sorts of other snippets from there to give you a feel for the vibe of the game world. So, when you look out there for this kind of stuff, there's a lot of resources you can take and use. Also in the 3D printing space, if you have zero budget but a printer, there's a guy called Devin Jones who does the Masterwork tools. All his stuff is free. You can download it and print it to your heart's content, and it's custom terrain. that you can then build. It's all fantasy genre stuff, but it's there. Another guy, MZ4250, or Miguel Zavalia, I think. I'm going to mispronounce that and butcher it horribly. But he's done over 4,000 different models, which covers most of your classic fantasy creatures, if not all. I'm not going to say all because there's like heaps of stuff. But if you want something more modern, more cyberpunk themed, Unit 9, who I backed for about a year or so, have really nice sculpts of miniatures in that space. There's another one called Pascal, who are not doing a Stargate-themed and cyberpunk abominations at the moment because I don't want to infringe any copyrights or cause problems for people. And another one called One Gold Piece, who for $1 you get halflings. And it's funny. They're themed halflings. So they might be from, I don't know, certain Marvel-esque style universes or many other things, you know. And this is what I love about the 3D printing space is like you find people out there who are printing the oddest little piece and you go, that's really cool. And I've bought sets and go, I really want that one thing. And in the rest of the set, you start looking and go, oh, I could use this for that. It sort of spawns inspiration, at least for me. And just seeing so many digital sculptors out there creating beautiful stuff, that's just amazing. Also, you'll see the occasional Kickstarter as well that has sets of minis in it. For a Venetian Mardi Gras style affair, there is Water Spy, which is currently open. And then, of course, there's a medieval town set as well, which I wandered across. And one of the other YouTubers, I've forgotten his name, is doing the second edition of his book, Knave, which covers a whole range of things. But, yeah, so many, many things out there and many possibilities, which I think is just whole hogs to the industry that we're really looking at.
Especially,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Manners. But it's the... I've been, especially because I cut my teeth on very poorly because I did not go into game design, but I went to tabletop design because 3D had just too many triangles because my brain is a D6, it is square and smooth. But there's seeing those that can do the 3D work and do it really well always blows me away. I've got several friends I went to college with, the moment they could, they got, the 3D printers to, for them to make all their cool little bits and bobs with. Got, one longtime friend, the son of a bitch that got me into 40K and got, it cost me so much fucking money.
One kidney or two?
That's my pancreas. That's why I'm a diabetic, actually. No, but the, like he does he does painting streams and stuff. He's got really got all him into it, but doing 3D modeling for like special like heroic bits. Like it's like, okay, but like I want this Dark Angel to have extra special shoulder pads, and he's able to get them. It's one of those things where it's you don't have like the time or the patience or that particular like brain chemistry skill set to like sculpt with green stuff or whatever. Or you can like make a file and then like print out a bunch of them instead of having to like sculpt the same pauldron over and over.
That being said, I don't know if you can see this. This is just something I've been dabbling with for the last month, and this is using the Dune font. And it's just there's a whole set of math rock, and I have dumped them up on a drive-through RPG, and they are free until the end of this stream.
Oh wow.
Well, it's like, okay, normally there are 99 cents. It's like, I do this stuff and it's like, okay, cool. I don't know if anybody's going to want it.
Yes,
and there's other stuff I'm throwing around.
Hold on to them for me until I'm in Paxos and I can pick them up.
You'll parachute down with the spiders and...
If you want this set, I'll put them in a bag and leave them aside for you. You can paint them up yourself. They don't have a four-sided because I've lost that somewhere. But,
Well,
this is the thing.
I was going to make fun of you because earlier I was like, oh, this will be a great segue actually to my other topic. And then you totally stole my segue because you were like, I was leading for like from what we were talking about with D&D, and then finding other RPGs and other games, and then leading into distribution issues worldwide. But I loved it because it still worked. But as soon as we were like, yeah, there's other RPGs, you're like, let me tell you about bundle holding. And I'm like, that's a good segue.
Sorry.
I have to let him have it.
It's like, you son of a bitch, you're right. Yeah.
But I do want to swing it back over to that because, like you as a creator in Australia, and me being in Canada, and Max being in the US and stuff like, or Alex being in the US, I don't know why is your name Maxwell on the thing?
Mine. Oh, and
sorry, ADHD brain.
No, it's in the Discord. It's just Maxwell is just also a thing that carried over from when I was in a was it the Gentleman Gamers, and it was like, Prince Maxwell has blessed us with his presence. I was like, I feel important, and it became my tabletop one because the odd vampire player will go Anyways,
now I'm just gonna think of you as Maxwell Sheffield from The Nanny, because that's so proper.
No, it's just, we've got a member of the Commonwealth here. I'm not gonna do that accent.
We're all over the place, and shipping issues have been problematic since COVID, and understandably, like the world shut down, things are going to be harder to shift, and necessary employees and stuff like that. Like it's going to be a challenge.
I know that stuff's a challenge in terms of shipping from America, especially around the US, now that COVID's hit. But my experience being on this butt end of the world in Australia is that when I looked at, say, getting something from Amazon, I go, hey, that's a reasonably good price. I can afford that even with the US exchange rate. And then I'd look at the shipping costs, and that's where I would always get stung.
So it's always been, you're saying pre-COVID, it's been real bad too?
Well, okay, I bought a book from an independent publisher in the US for about $35. That's US prices. And then I paid about the same for the shipping to Australia. So it's always been a hassle. And then there used to be there still is a website called Book Depository that operates out of the UK. They had free shipping, and their prices were actually better than Amazon's. Then Amazon bought them, and their prices went up. But if you factored in the price and the free shipping, it was still slightly cheaper than Amazon for me in Australia. Now, people in the US don't have that problem. You get free shipping all the time. Every time I go to a website, it's go, hey, we got free shipping. And then I'll go look at the terms and conditions, it goes, not Australia. Yeah, I know why. But anyhow.
Poor island all by itself down there.
Yeah.
Look, we get cheap access to Chinese goods. So it's like,
but now too, shipping now, because I'm fulfilling a Kickstarter now, like if pre-COVID you were paying the same price for the item as you were for shipping, now it's 2 to 3 times.
Yeah, well,
it's like you order a hoodie and you're going to pay $168 for shipping. Like,
and
it's pretty ridiculous.
COVID was bad, and then the Suez Canal blockage made something bad infinitely worse.
Yes.
We're still at least where I am, kind of inland California a bit. Like we're still seeing things like our whole chain of shipping is still aching from that.
I've got a friend who works in supply stuff, logistics and that sort of thing. And the blockage of the Suez Canal was only a week or something? Was it not a huge amount of time? But the thing is, it wasn't just that ship. It was every other ship that was going to be going through there. And so it backed things up for months because the navigating through the straits, of course, slowed everything down. Mm-hmm. But, it's that compared to going all the way around the Horn of Africa, which, of course, is a couple of month journey. Mm-hmm. So it's,
Well, it's bizarre how things structurally that work normally get so screwed up in one kind of instance like that. It's I'm in Canada, and it's all one power company. And so the whole of Canada went down last, I don't remember if it was this past winter or summer, but it was all down because there's just one. And when there's a monopoly on it, there's no backup plan. So what are you going to do when that kind of thing happens? So the fact that like our infrastructure in so many ways is so shallow and so sensitive and fragile. super scary, the implications
Well, yeah.
for the
I
world.
mean, even here in Australia, we had a bunch of super hot days, one after the other, and power lines melted.
Oh,
Yeah, these are steel cables stretching, across the landscape on those giant structures.
why
And,
does
yeah.
God hate you so much over there?
Look, if you happen to be born in a country like America, you're playing the game on easy mode, really. Here in Australia, we're just upping the ante a little bit,
Survival mode is.
Yes, yeah, it's here we know it's like, oh yeah, you're playing Sims on hard. All right, it's like what's it like in in Australia? It's Dark Souls. Yeah. But like Rem, do you have anything else here before I segue us into our next bit?
Just the challenges of shipping being what they are, and how it's really affecting the gaming industry, because a lot of small publishers they've stopped. You can't get their products internationally anymore because it's just they can't afford it. They can't afford the cost of what it's going to be. So they've taken it off the market, and that's going to hurt.
Yep.
Well, hopefully they find other methods to do so, because I know here in Australia I end up just buying stuff as PDF because it's just easier that way, and less time delay and all that sort of stuff. Now, every so often I'll see a Kickstarter and go, no, I actually want a hard copy of that one, and I'll pay the extra and take the hit. But I know there's also print-on-demand services and others that can alleviate the shipping for books and deal with it in different locales. I mean, Lulu, I suppose, is one example. But there's also that challenge of getting complex products, such as the Mercenaries Kickstarter that's just finished for Catalyst, or other big box games that always seem to take a lot longer to get here. So
Yeah.
But I think it was with that, and one final note, because we've talked about the various RPGs and the struggles that each of them individually have, and how everyone is going to have their favorite, be it D&D or something else. And as someone who is except for the graces of Rob, I am perpetually in the GM seat myself. I'll quote Miss Frizzle to try new things, make messes, make mistakes, because any game I run is always made richer by experimenting with new systems. Even if you don't like the system, you might find new rules, new things within that system that just cause a neuron activation, and you go like, oh, I'm keeping that. And so I always encourage RPG players, new, olds, and everything in between, to experiment and try new things. Because variety is the spice of life. Why such, live a little, right? But with that, we're gonna be roundabouting back a bit to AI, but not in like the big spooky talk. But this is not, we are seeing a lot of big name writers and artists that are writers in general. I'm sure everyone has at this point heard about the writer's strike, which I'll be getting in more detail. But also one big house for my household name, Jinjay Ito, has been looking at AI art and going, I'm taking that personally, and I'm gonna fight it. For those of you that don't know Jinjay Ito, he's a famous, maybe with like a in parentheses at the beginning of that, infamous, depending on what your stomach for horror is. He's a famous and or infamous Japanese horror writer, writer and artist. I consider myself a pretty strong stomach kind of guy, and his stuff it still makes just it makes your mouth feel kind of greasy. It's like, yeah. I love I love body horror, but he does body horror and psychological horror, and this grotesque marriage that is amazing to read once, and it'll stay there for in your head, permanent residence for the rest of your life. So he's like, you can read it once and it's always there. He's he's striving to basically like his next project. If I will assuredly botch his magnum opus, um, was a Uzumaki, which has been struggling to get an anime adaptation for a long time because of the nature of the art within his manga. Um, he is, his next big project is to make something that is narratively and artistically so horrifically bizarre, that his ultimate goal, to paraphrase, is to give things like Chat GPT, Mid Journey, and things an aneurysm.
Yeah.
Which I like. Cool. Yes, it's fighting, fighting technology with like horror mimetics. But there is I I'm not going to try reading the Japanese name for it, because I will make a mess of it. But there's this his whole thing is this approach of this thing like social unmasking. So
Mhm.
we're like behind like the like polite nicety, there is this constant paranoia of what's behind the polite face. And his whole thing is doing like a physical manifestation of that. So we're like a lot of
Yeah. Okay.
like faces peeling off, and the physical manifestation of mass public psychopathy, which has me go, oh, but also at the same time, like as an artist, I can't wait to see it and then not sleep for a week. Like I Yeah, he's been one of those that like I found him alongside Berserk when I was
Oh yeah.
wee little baby going to my first anime convention, and then there was like the Resident Evil guy in the corner like, what are you buying? And he's
Oh,
and you've got like your normal shonens there. I'm like, what are these? And here I am as I am today, because those melted my frontal lobe. Um, but
But I mean, a lot of that early stuff that you read really has an impact on
oh
you,
yeah,
where you start, and you develop a passion for it,
oh yeah.
and definitely hear your passion for horror in that sort of genre. Um, Related to the horror stuff that you're just talking about, I saw a notification that Life of Chuck, a Stephen King novel, or a whole bunch of short stories, is being put together, and they've got Mark Hamill and Tom Hiddleston in the starring roles of that. Um,
Oh, because I love Hamill and horror stuff. When he gets the chance to be like the big personality on stage, it's mwah, chef kiss.
Yeah. So, but yeah, anyhow, so, I mean, there's plenty of stuff like that coming out at the moment. Cycling back to the anime side of things, I watched recently Suzumi, a Japanese movie about magical doors that open up into a parallel universe. You can't go into that other universe because that's where people die,
Mhm.
but the monsters come through and cause things like earthquakes and tsunamis and stuff. And so the goal is to close the door.
That's
And it keeps happening all over the place. And it's, it follows the story of this young girl, Suzumi, but you end up having emotional feelings for a chair. It's got this wonderful little anime-esque weirdness about it. So, um, which links me back to another thing I watched recently, which was Portable Door, which is more of a British upper thing about magic doors. And they got kind of nicely weird as well. So, I mean, yeah, for you, it's definitely horror, but there's all these other weird genres. Like I like weird stuff, which is, I suppose, what sort of draws me into things.
Mhm.
A series I watched recently is Dark, and it's a twisted time travel adventure. Oh, no, I'm not going to say adventure because there's no adventure in it.
Experience.
It definitely experience. It's a sci-fi thriller that ran for 3 seasons, and every episode they crack open and they reveal another nugget, another secret, and you go, WTF? And try and fit that little piece into what you know of the world. And at the end of the first season, you go, cool, that's a wrapped up story. Oh, wait, there's season 2. And just recently, their follow-up series called 1899 was released on Netflix. So, and that is described as a sci-fi mystery period drama with some supernatural horror elements. Trying to tick all the boxes here, really. So, but yeah, yeah. So,
No, but but it is cool to see, like, because as as you said, like there are limits currently to to what AI can write, and it's one of the, like, until it becomes like actually sentient and unshackled, like it's not going to be able to, it's not able to get psychological thriller like that. It can paint it may be able to paint a scary picture, but it's not gonna like reach up inside you and grab that your limbic system like Geiger's.
The thing is, that level of grab shows a deep understanding of the human psyche and how the brain works and how people think. AI doesn't have any of that. It just copies. It emulates. And yeah,
and that's the like the big hope for things going forward. And going into the the writers' strike. This is a big one. The last one we had of this size was in 2007. But it's it's like a bit of like an overdue reckoning for the film industry. How things have been growing increasingly formulaic, at least in my personal opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. I am just a a talking head on the internet, especially right now. It was the growing monotony of superhero formula remakes and the growing advent of streaming services, and then now the growing that kind of growing unsure how big a player it might be in the game. There's a lot of there's a lot of hysteria surrounding AI writing, but these big companies are going to try and save a buck, and certainly having like throwing chat GPT on something and having the writers room be editors. But as we've all seen, and in this growing era of subscription services, where we get like cinema grade TV shows that last about 8 to 10 episodes, which has been gutting what writers make. Contractually, they're being treated essentially like gig workers. They're being absolutely undercut for all of their work, and that combined with everyone trying to emulate like Joss Whedon humor for the past 10 goddamn years. I love Buffy. Buffy was my high school watch. I love Firefly. But there comes a point where the pathos you see in a lot of the Marvel films, where there's a super serious moment and then someone comes in with a quip and it's like you ruined it. Like, it was so close to feeling something, and then you just went and like. But these kinds of things are long overdue. Sadly, film and TV will likely suffer as a result. But as they say, hard times make great men, and great men make good times.
It's time for a review, and it's time for a change anyway, because the trend really is like, how many people do you know that have cable anymore? How many people do you know that go to movies, unless it's something like, I saw the D&D movie in theaters, and like I can't tell you, I think like the last movie I saw in theaters was Avengers Endgame. So like it's been a while, and COVID had something to do with that too. But it's so available through streaming services for so much cheaper now, that I think the trend was changing anyway, and therefore you need to account for that in your agreements and your contracts with your writers and stuff like that. So like this was coming regardless. But I also like want to shout out too, because I saw I don't know if you guys saw the post from George R.R. Martin about the writer's strike.
Something about having time for Winds of Winter. Sorry,
no, of course not. He's too busy posting about the writer's strike. But he did this real like long write up about how he got started in the industry with Twilight Zone, and how part of like how he benefited from that was like, you as a writer, you did everything. You were on set, you know, even if you didn't get much say, even if you were an assistant or something like that, but you got those experiences. And then the next time you were brought back, you got the next level of experience. And like those writers turned into today's showrunners. But now what's happening is the writers are so cut out of everything that there's no one new getting that kind of experience anymore. So what is it going to look like in 10 years?
And I think you're right. You need that experience, because otherwise, how do you know it works? And also, hearing your words spoken by someone else. Like, I think one of the things that made Firefly really work is that the writing team had all the experience of Buffy and Angel, and they had the opportunity to see the actors deliver lines. And, looking at, say, Babylon 5, some of the actors' performances then informed what happened to the characters in later stories. Yeah. And so getting that feedback loop and like, to learn anything, you need that feedback loop. You need to be able to try stuff, see it fail, see it succeed, work out what works, work out what doesn't, and then take it to that next step. So, yeah.
And that's because it's the like art has to constantly evolve. The new blood has to come in, because new blood's where you get new ideas. And as I've blossoming writer myself, I've got the one D&D book I worked on out there right now, right? But other than that, like, yes, that's the people just constantly, is the constant struggle of artists never being paid what they're really worth. On at a certain level, you can have they'll also have actors that are being paid like $500 million for their face on something. Like, I guess, like, fine, that's a good face, but god damn it.
The thing is, they're always the outliers. They're the people who've made it popular, who've made it to the top ranks of the whole industry. And you can look at acting, you can look at music, any industry you want to pick in that sort of creative genre. If you're at the top of your game for however long that lasts, yes, you can get your face on the side of a billboard and make buckets for it. But then, of course, you've got that whole everybody else. And I think we were talking about this towards the start. I know I was reading something about it earlier, about how companies are now squeezing the tail end of the creatives to get more out of them through additional fees or costs and that sort of stuff, so that if you're only making a little bit, you're making a little bit less, and it's hard to sort of build momentum and experience in the area, because it's worth less for you to spend time making that happen, if that makes sense. I mean, just as an example, this thing, I've been dabbling with this for almost 6 months, but I don't see an opportunity to get it out there. And I think the writer's strike is a great example. You need to fund your people. You need to pay them a decent wage so that they can make a living, so they can hone their craft, whatever that craft is.
Yeah.
Well, I have comments. Yeah, sorry.
And the creatives, they've always been, and sadly, I think always will be, squashed a little bit, because creative's going to create. Like, it's a need in us to do that. Regardless of the monetary benefit. Like, it is a compulsion. It is something that you are called to. And unfortunately for film, there's that end where it's like, I need to create this. I need to get this on paper. I need to put this out there, and I want it to it's my baby. I want it to fly. But then you have, at the opposite end, the film investors and film studios that have all the money that they sit on top, like Thember showed, all fat and roly-poly, and they're like, yes, how is this going to turn into more money for me? Squeeze it, because I have the rights, or I have the IP, or I have the money, or I have the resources to make it happen. And so everyone else is at the whim of this person that really doesn't care about the creative work, but cares about growing the pile of money, because they're a real life dragon. So it's like
killing the golden goose.
It's so hard, because it's that flex where it's like there's billions of dollars in this industry, and someone's getting paid poverty level wages to write the script that was the successful,
Yeah.
But within this kernel of an idea of large companies not really paying creatives what they're worth, you see a lot of creatives now trying to create alternate streams or other ways to get into the industry. And this is why I think we've had the indie gaming renaissance, because people are going, well, I could try and write for Wizards, but I'm fighting against thousands of other people who want that same job. Or I can follow my instincts, my creativity, and create something new. And this is where you get a lot of people who have started a YouTube channel or doing something in something, itch.io or whatever space they're doing it in, who are creating these new and interesting experiences that are outside what we regularly get. But whatever it is, I really hope people get paid what they're worth for what they're creating.
Thank God for that. But at the same time, they're not. I publish Kickstarters or I produce Kickstarters for publishers that are small. The money in gaming, the margins are razor thin. Like, I keep hearing too, and I don't have all the ins and outs of what is spent and stuff like that. And I'm not crying on behalf of Catalyst. Please don't think that. But like, people keep saying, well, you have $7.5 million now. No, we don't. Because Kickstarter took 10%, and then the marketing fees took their cut, or marketing agencies, and then the product, getting it manufactured and the costs that are associated with that, getting it all shipped to the US to go then to the hubs where, yes, the customers pay shipping to them, but they're not paying for that giant shipment across the ocean to get here. It ends up coming like it's not $7.5 million. That's for sure. And when you think of how many creatives are out there doing it on a small scale. So if you see a $10,000 Kickstarter and at least half of that is being taken away for costs, it's not a salary for someone.
Yeah.
God, no. There's I watched a thing from Game Development Conference a couple of years back, and a guy's saying, I spent 11 years in the game industry and I can now make minimum wage. And he's released dozens and dozens of small little games and that sort of stuff. He gets the occasional uptick, but it gives him the barest wage that he can then now live off. And he's put that huge amount of time and effort as an independent creative to make that happen.
Yeah.
And the same is true for larger companies as well. There was they won the Academy Award for visual effects for Life of Pi. I can't remember the name of the company, but within a month or two of winning that award, the company went bankrupt.
Yep. No, it's weird. There's a whole like hidden Pandora's box within it was one of those things like when doing because we did a indie release of our Ravensbrook book, which of course like that released end of the year in 2022. We had a decent Kickstarter. It was $35K, but I didn't get none of us got really paid all that much. Definitely but also it was a group of guys who been planning together for 5-6 years. So it was it was less of a big deal paying your friends. It was definitely below industry standard, but it was what we could do. But then naturally, as soon as we hit it's hey, we've got our thing out, the OGL thing happened. So that's has basically killed our the momentum we were building. Dead stop, and it blows. But things are easing up, things are getting better. You got to grin, bear it, and forge on, because gotta keep moving forward, right?
Well, and because we're creatives, we love it anyway. We do it anyway because we love gaming.
My name isn't something tangible. It's finally that's so cool.
The joy out of creating something that people go, hey, that's actually useful.
Yeah. But to carry us on into some positive notes. I've some reviews for films. Speaking of there's a lot of superhero films that don't make us feel things. Guardians 3 made me feel things.
Brilliant.
Because James Gunn is a bastard. If anyone has seen the Guardians 3 trailers, you can have guesses as the things that occurred within it. No spoilers, just that when things involve animals and bad things happening to animals, I become the most soft-bellied crybaby bitch. I was the first time I have sobbed in the theater in years.
Note to self: I'm not going to see that movie because I don't want to do that to myself.
No, it's good, and I believe this was Marvel's first mainline F-bomb was dropped. They had their one fuck and they took it, and I was like, finally. But yeah, it's a pleasant surprise. There's a Super Mario Brothers was good. Jack Black was the best as always. It just felt not as much as the Guardians for making me go but the nostalgia was definitely there. Because the sound designers and the orchestral people doing it, they knew what they were doing. So it was it was a grand old fun time. If you had a childhood with any Nintendo product, you're gonna sit there going like, yeah, you're gonna feel like a kid again.
Mm.
And the thing that took me by surprise, which surprised me that it surprised me, because I love Genndy Tarkovsky's work, Samurai Jack and Primal, Unicorn Eternal Warriors had its first episode last week, and I believe midnight, yeah, Pacific time. Or it might be doing simulcast. I don't know, but for me, I know for me, it's midnight. I'm getting episode 2. If you love imagine like a Saturday morning cartoon like condensation of like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen kind of vibes. But like but if it was written by like Tarkovsky and Hanna-Barbera, it's that. And yeah, but it's like, oh hey, this new show's out. I'm like, the name sounds really weird, and I sit down and watch it. I was like, oh my god, it was so much fun. If you're into like the art style was amazing. The writing was, I mean, there's not a lot of it as a lot of Genndy stuff is, because his storytelling is very visual. Copernicus, which is like the thickest C3PO I've ever seen, is the best boy. This I wholly recommend it. If you guys haven't seen Primal and you're able to watch it. It's a it's a visceral silent film. But in like TV show form. It's a man and his dog, but it's a caveman and his dinosaur. It's amazing. But it's all, like all those are just like serotonin. Let's see, a nice weekend cleanse, and I'll be wrapping my segment. Since I didn't do a book review last time, I instead have a not a book recommendation, but an author recommendation.
Ooh.
So Brian McClellan and all of his works. Brian McClellan, I discovered him when I was in college. With his originally the Powder Mage series. So imagine like Sharp's rifles, but there's it follows a core of riflemen who can control bullets with their mind. Yeah, it's super nifty. They snort gunpowder like crack, and it gives them like crazy like psionic powers. Yeah, this is like, oh well, time to let's go, and they can just like blow up people's powder horns with their brain. It's weird and cool. He's got 2 trilogies in it. There's the Powder Mage trilogy and the Sins of Empire. My favorite character from Sins of Empire is known as Ben Stike, because introduced him as prisoner 10642, which is 24601 backwards.
Oh, yep.
And I was like, yeah, motherfucker. Because I love me Jean Valjean. And they even had a guy doing the window Javert. But Brian McClellan has his novellas, his main series books, all super awesome, all deserve a movie or a show. Even like I ordered his was it the Blood Tally, his his breakout in urban fantasy. The books, like the bookstores are out, and I've received a package just from him. He's like, yeah, it's here.
Cool.
I was like, okay. Yeah, he's a fantastic guy who then like bakes, like live streams baking and playing Minecraft on his off time. So as an author goes, has been a longtime favorite of mine.
So who was the author again?
Brian McClellan, McLellan.
I'm gonna have me a look.
It's fantastic, dude. He's even got a Savage Worlds tabletop for his Powder Mage universe, which is it gives you like a deeper dive on all the the nations and everything in his world, which is also cool because I will eat lore for dinner. But yeah, that's it for my segments. We ran a little long, but we had a little double up on some news since we had to push it back for a week. So thank you for a chat for wherever you are in the world and now or the future, to come in and hang out with us and listen to us talk and engage with us in chat. I have, as always, been your perpetually disheveled, and now that it is summer, your perpetually perspiring host, Alex Maxwell. I am joined by my lovely co-host as always. So as we sign off, just tell people where they can find you.
Well, I have no social media at the moment, although I do have a website, The Impossible Emporium. But it's a minor background thing. But yes, I will again return in the future.
I'm Rem. I am the CEO of Rem Alternus Productions. You can find us here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Master of Rem, or on Thursdays we are on Gen Con TV at twitch.tv/Gen Con TV. Or for all of your Shadowrun needs, we are also the Shadowcasters Network on YouTube. You can just search for Shadowcasters Network. And I'm also the Community and Marketing Director for Catalyst Game Labs. So if you have any questions or anything about, what do we have now? We have Leviathans, we have Shadowrun, we have Battletech, we have the new board game division. I should have talked about that. Maybe next time.
Renegade Legion.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff. There's one more at least that I'm thinking of or I'm missing. But hey, lots of cool stuff, lots of gaming, and we'll be at I will be at Origins this year. So if you see me with the pink hair, come say hi.
And I am, of course, Alexander Maxwell. I am the one of the few promotion managers. There we go. Words. Promotion managers here at Cybernation Uncensored. You can find me tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, getting into our first episode of Cyborg with Team Plug and Play. You can also find me this coming Monday, joining or resuming our Last of Us hack of Fallout 2D20, and you know, also just find me in the Discord. That is where I am most active. Discord is my primary means of socialization because I am an internet entity. But until then, it has been great talking with you, my host, and it's been great chatting with you, my chat. So thank you for coming to Cybernation by night, and I'll be seeing you later. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Cybernation Uncensored.